Hello everyone, today I want to talk about how to set up a working file properly to have maximum control over all elements and colors using a logical masking workflow. I want to demonstrate that on a file that my friend and photographer Per Florian Appelgren from Cologne has shot recently and that we have been published in ELLE magazine. This was the cover shot and the file was set up already. So that you don't have to watch me do the whole retouch process and we can concentrate on the masking workflow. But nevertheless, I would like to walk you through what has been done so far. So starting from the original raw conversion from Capture One, as you see here, I will just show you the image and the task that was at hand. So we need a whole cutout of the model to place it on a neutral background and to be able to work with typography with it. As you probably have seen in many magazine covers, so where the letters are behind the model or merge with it or whatever the creative comes up with. And so the main task here was to switch the head. And this is the original shot, as I already said. And if you see what has been done, you can see that there is a new head. So where does it come from and what to do with it? Let's walk through. I'll deactivate those retouching steps and we're gonna start with the raw conversion. And the first thing that I wanted to do was place the new head. Let me deactivate those layers. And as you can see here, this is the new head. I just masked away a piece of the zipper to make it look more in the right direction. And as you can see, there's some part left. And also here, there's a few elements that needed to be retouched. So first the zipper. There's nothing more than that. And then I just basically cloned this part of the head and some part here. And then I decided that it would be better to shape the head. And therefore I extended those parts to have a better line with the shoulders. And then I merged it together and liquefied it a little bit, so to give it a better shape. And as you can see, I did that on the head to give it a little more roundness, and also with the zipper and this part. So this is basically it with a liquefy layer. And then as you can see, or maybe already have been wondering, the neck is quite long. Therefore, I moved it down a little bit. And as you can see, closed these gaps with a mask that looks like that. And then there was a tiny bit of retouching this part of the dress to give it a little more dynamic shape. This was that. This whole thing was merged again to have a base. Then I decided to liquefy the neck and the head a little more. And later I decided to move this part of the jumper slightly more to the left. All right, so then it was followed by some retouching steps. I will just deactivate those to give you an overview. So a basic skin cleanup, as you can see here, just basic healing and cloning. Remove these hairs here and a few here, and basically just cleaning up the skin. Another one, taking out those lashes evening out those lines, taking away a few of the shadow bags, eye bags, taking away this light here. And then I did some dodging and burning on the skin, and I will just deactivate those so that you can see what has been done. And if you're wondering how to toggle these layers on and off, I've been asked recently in one of the other videos. It's just the regular keyboard shortcut hide layers, which you can find here. You can just go to the regular keyboard shortcuts here, keyboard shortcuts, layer, and then you move down until you find show layers. You can put your shortcut there, confirm it, and then you can toggle it on and off. It's called show layers if the layers are hidden, and it's called hide layers if the layers are visible, so don't get confused by that. Yes, so darkening the hair a bit, putting some emphasis on the brows and evening out those tiny imperfections in the skin. And the last thing that I did was to balance out this makeup part on the right side. As you can see here, to have the same kind of impression. And that was done with the shadow highlight layer. So I made a merge copy, went to adjustments, shadow highlights, and lightened up just by the basic amount of 35. And then I brushed it in. Did some hue saturation adjustment, did a color layer on top so that the color is balanced out with this one. And I did a basic tiny dodge and burn to even out this part a little more. Oh yeah, and there was, in the end, there came a correction, and there was just this tiny part that needed to be retouched again. All right, so what do we have to do now to move on and create the cutout, and from there set up the working file to be most flexible, adjusting all individual colors like the dress, like the back, like the skin, the head, eyes, mouth, etc. We will start off with a basic silhouette cut. Therefore, I'm going to use the pen tool and go quickly around the model. And you can watch me do that, or you can fast forward to the next chapter mark. For those of you interested, let's just start using the pen tool. And you can just watch me move through. So I'm taking care that I don't leave any white spots. Of course, we can later enhance the mask to our likings, doesn't matter. But as the more precise we are in this stage, the less we have to adjust the mask. And you can do it however you feel like it. If you're more comfortable with doing it the way I do it here now, just moving through, you're welcome to do that. Or you can use the 2-point clipping curves, or is it the way it's called? I don't know. Where you set the points and then put a third one to go for the curve. I'll show you in one of the areas where it suits me. I'll leave out this part. It doesn't really add to the image, so we don't need it. So this is one of those. We can take this out again, put a new point and move it to the closer to the edge, or here, move it a little more in. When it comes to the zipper, maybe you've been wondering, how do we take care of those little parts? You can later adjust the mask. Let's see. With the very prominent ones, I'll just set some points. But you could also move it ever so slightly, or you can zoom in. Since it's a relatively small magazine print, so it's not a billboard, you don't need to be super precise on that. Just to need to make sure that there is no pixels shining through in the end, and that's what we can check when we finish the mask. So we move on with the skin here. Of course, you can use other techniques or intelligence from Photoshop to make this selection, but to be honest, I would always prefer maximum control over the image, and that is why I do this by hand. Of course, it depends on the job and the amount of flexibility that is needed in the end. But now that I know that it's going to be a cover for a magazine, of course, I'm going to deliver a perfect result. So moving on. Let's zoom out a little bit. There's no need to be so close. Sometimes I need to remind myself of that. And zoom in too much. It's not always necessary. If it would be key visual for a big campaign or something that would be a quite large print, I would recommend to zoom in pretty close. But again, it depends on the task. By the way, now that we are in this process, I would like to take a few moments to give a big shout out to everyone that has reached out to me in regards to the last videos. I'm super happy and overwhelmed by all the feedback that I received from you. It's such an amazing feeling that I can help you with what I've shown you, and so many of you have reached out telling me that you have learned something or that it improved your workflow, and this really means the world to me. I'm super grateful for you to reach out and let me know, because this is the best breakfast you can get, right? When you put in some effort and work into showcasing things to others, it's the best thing to receive the feedback that it's of value. And yes, again, thank you for that. Also, I've been reaching out to you via Instagram, and I've received a lot of feedback on topics that you would be interested in. Just let me know if there's something that you would think is valuable to the community and to the people watching here, and we could certainly discuss that as a topic. If you got something, let me know. Moving on around the head. We'll be done shortly, halfway there. Let's put one here and another one here, and then just move it like so. That's one of those occasions where it makes absolutely sense to go through the image like that. I think I was first introduced to this technique by Seth McCullough. I hope I pronounce your name right, my friend. This was, although I was retouching for, I don't know, forever, this was completely new, and it certainly enhanced my workflow. So thank you for that. If you're not familiar with Seth McCullough's work, check out his profiles and also his tuitions that he's giving at Pro EDU. There's certainly good stuff to expand your knowledge and technique tool set. There's a little itch here. We can just take it out by moving all right. Getting closer to the goal. In this case, I'm gonna move just like so. We're gonna move around her leg, moving up again. Okay. Getting up here. You can see that there's a few elements that otherwise would have been taken care in the retouching process, but since I knew that it's going to be cut out, you can leave these parts and just move up. And if you're thinking now, why the heck is he doing this? Why is he moving all through the image like that precise? You'll see and experience the benefit of putting in that effort once we go into the color correction and grading process. Having maximum control over all elements in your images is key to providing the best results to your clients. And I can understand that you probably think that using the pen tool is a little pain. But as I said earlier, there's nothing that compares to the control that you have using this tool. So it's a good idea to master it. All right, let's see. Once we are at the point where we can close this pass, we have to take care of the insides. Show you in a second. Let's close this one. And then call it cut or whatever you want to call it. These are the old ones. Let me take those away. We'll move on and recreate those. Okay, so we have two gaps that we need to fill. This is the first one. We can just continue. Just make sure that this is selected here. I'm going to take out this as well. Doesn't really add to the image, does it? Not really. We can take it back in if we like in the end. Okay, just moving here. Proceeding to the skin. And making our way up. First one. Next. Right, so we'll be finished with the cut soonish. Then we can refine it. I'll show you how in a second. All right, that's the one that we need. Let's check. Everything's selected. Everything's fine. All right. Let's create this mask, and you can see that it already looks much better. But if we take a closer look, you can see that it still has this sharp edge. And first thing that I want to do, so one thing, the cover is going to be on white. Therefore, I have these this white background that has a little color tint to it, so it's a little grayish, but that's, sorry, 100%. But that's the one that I need. This is the color for the magazine, but we can make sure that the mask covers everything so that you could also put it to another color. So if we make a copy of that and go for color like that, or whatever color you like, actually, it should work. But depending on the color that we go for or make a decision for, it can lead to this color spills that we would need to tackle then. I'm going to show you a little later how this works. Now that you know it's going to be white, we want to make sure that the edges are not too hard. Therefore, I'm going to select the blur tool, set it to a value of about 30, and I will just go to the mask and activate it, clicking Alt, and just brushing over the edge to give it a little softer appearance to be able to blend into the background. You could blur it all to this is the technique that gives me the most control. But please use the technique that you prefer or gives you the best feeling or result. I made the experience that using the blur tool is the way to go. Going for the inner part a little later, just moving around the outline first. All right, moving on to the inner part. All right, next one. That's it. All right, so now we have the mask of the silhouette. Now we want to create masks within the model group, and I create groups for that. At first, it's the head. Let's create a few more. The bottom one is going to be skin, and another one for the eyes, another one for the mouth, another one for the teeth, and I guess we need two more. One is the dress, and one is the bag. Might look like a lot, and of course you don't have to do it all the time in your images, but this video is about showing you the benefits if you do it. Let's start with the skin. Now that we have the outer mask already, we can only concentrate on just the skin. And if you follow that recipe, you are going to have a perfect mask, but let's continue before you see what it really offers you. We can use the smudge tool later to enhance this mask edge. Okay, this one. You can always start from the outside. And make your way there. And let's create this mask like so. And if necessary, we can refine it later. Sometimes it's not. And this is what you will probably learn over time. How to get that precision. Right, the hand is going to be, or the arm is going to be easier. And move like so here, and then just get up there. And move like so. Should be fine. There's a little bit here. All right. So, there we go. Close it off. Now we have this one to go. These edges will be dealt with a little later, so we can soften them a bit and make sure that we have got nice, smooth, and absolutely perfect mask edges. Just gonna take care of the skin now. We could do an individual mask for the hair. We will, probably. By the way, I assume that you know that if you want to move just one handle of this points, you push the Alt button and then just move the one to the direction where you want to go. Oops, just the skin. Now that I was excited about the handle, moved in the wrong direction. All right, now we have this one. Let's call it skin and give it a check. Yes, that's a nice skin mask. And what we're gonna do now is just put it here and use the blur tool again, just quickly over the edges. Okay, next one is going to be the eyes. That's easy, just this part. And one on the other side. Now one thing is important. You want to make sure that you put it here, give it this little blur. And you want to command click it and subtract it also by filling it with black from your skin mask, so that you have got these two masks. All right? Same with the mouth. Well, it's a personal preference decision. You can include the mouse into the skin mask, but if you, for example, unify colors or you work on the skin color in a more extreme way, you should make sure that the lips still look natural, and you have more control if you create a separate mask. Okay, again, quick softening, command clicking, and also taking it out from the skin mask. And one more for the teeth. So now you see that creating the setup for a file like that takes some time, and you should definitely put it into your calculation of the job and time-wise, and You should make the decision if it's worth it. The results will always be better if you do, but it also needs to meet your budget. Now we're going to take out the teeth from the mouse mask. And next one, let's take the head first. And now I will show you the benefit of having the masks created earlier for the skin. We can just take the ones from the skin and only take out the hair. Like so, and move back to the head. And you'll see why in a second. All right, let's close this path first. This is going to be the head. We've got the head. And now we are going to subtract the skin mask by holding Command Option and then click the skin. We're going to take it away. See? Let's activate Quick Mask, and then we can see that we have to fix this part with 100% and just take these parts back into the mask. And we are going to have a head mask like so. We can soften the edges again. And now we can take the head mask, invert it, and subtract the skin from it. And then we have a hair mask that we also needed. We can put it here. And then we can just, fill those parts with black. And just make a selection around that, invert it with Apple Shift I, fill it with black, and there's our hair mask. We should definitely soften this, not to have a sharp and hard edge here, using the blur tool. Like so, and we can soften it later. Let's check the skin mask again, if it's soft enough. Yeah, like so. So now we only need, the dress. And therefore we can select everything and subtract the skin from it, subtract the head from it. Just activate Quick Mask using Q, brushing those away. And we have a dress mask. Right? See, it looks weird, but it has, I can show you in a second what it does. We only have to create one more path for the bag. That's what we're going to do now. We can move around the back here. And you can see, or maybe it clicks already, that it is absolutely necessary to go these steps to have the maximum control. And once you have, you can do everything with the image. You can adjust colors without affecting the other parts. So you can change the color of the dress, of the bag, of the skin, of the hair, of the head. You can play with contrasts, you can play with gradings, and you can basically have a lot of fun enjoying the maximum control over the image. So you gotta put this work in to be able to have this amount of flexibility, and it's your decision if it's worth your time. But for me, in my projects, it's mandatory to do that with every project, just to be sure to be able to deliver the best possible result. And of course, this amount of work needs to be calculated into the proposal that the client receives. But if you are clear in your communication and explain the benefits of your workflow, the people will be grateful for you to put in this kind of love of detail to their files. Unless they say they don't need this kind of precision and prefer a global look because it's a rather low budget project, or, you know, different reasons. All right, last one, just finished. This one's called back. And we are going to take this, put it here, soften it a bit, brushing around. And we are going to subtract it from the dress, filling it with black. All right. So basically nothing has changed so far. But if we take a closer look now, I can demonstrate you what we did. Let's start with the more drastic one, just to be sure that you understand and see the benefit now. If we would go for a hue saturation adjustment, for example, we can change, I'm over-exaggerating now just for demonstration purposes, we can change the color of the dress to basically everything that we like, just by moving this one slider. And if you want to apply a drastic change, well, then you need to work on that mask here. Of course, it needs a little more precision, and if you would like to do so, let's say like so, then it's a good choice to take the smudge tool, like this one, have a rather high strength, and then just nudge it in. You can take a smaller one here, or like start with the bigger here. Move it in and adjust it to your liking. It would be a good idea to apply this mask to the skin mask then, so that you have the same mask and no gap. But this is necessary for drastic changes, right? So it's not really highly needed if, oh sorry, we have to move in the other direction here. It's not really needed if you want to go for a minor color adjustment. So, but since we don't want to leave this like so, we just want to enhance the color a bit. I'm going to go for a curve and just give it a little S-curve contrast, right? So that it pops a little more. Same with the with the back. What I like to do with the back to give it a little more crunch, I would like to create a stamp here, and I'm going to, well, it's fine like that. Command Option Shift E, put it in the back folder, and then to give it more punch, we can do one thing. Check this out. We go to Image Adjustments, Shadow Highlights. I'm going to take the amount way up to 100%. I'm going to hit Apple U or Command U. Take down the saturation by 50%, like so. Put this layer to soft light mode. And then you can see what it does. It just gets a little more vivid. And we can adjust the opacity to maybe 50% to bring it out, or 40 to bring it out a little more. Let's call it Shadow Highlights 100 and minus 50 sat, so that we know what we did. And we are going to use that same layer in the hat. We just copy it over, holding Option and dragging it there. And maybe we can increase that to 70%. Let's see what it does to the head. Yeah, that's nice. It gets a little more vivid and frames the head nicely. Maybe 55, like so. All right, let's work our way. So what we are going to do with the teeth is just use a hue saturation layer, activate that drag tool, put it here, move it to the left. Oh, it's in the dress folder. We're gonna move it to the teeth. The teeth are not that yellowish. And just a little more natural, like so. Let's move on to the eyes. I would like the eyes to be a little brighter. So lighten them up a bit. Take down that contrast so it gets a little poppy. And one more thing, I think we have a color tint in the eyes, so we could apply a hue saturation adjustment. Take the saturation down like so. Hide it with a black mask. Oops, no, not like this. Go to the mask, Command Shift, black, use a brush tool, 100% white color, and just brush it in. Take out that colored cast. That works like so. Okay, one more thing that we could do now is even out the skin. We have the head, we can use some, just for demonstration purposes, on the hair. We could increase some contrast on the hair. And now we have to make sure that the edge is not too hard, therefore we can use the smudge tool as well. Smudge tool is magic. You can refine, mask edges so beautifully with it. So let's check if there's no masking mistake. It's not. Yeah, like that contrast. And last but not least, it's the skin. And what we can do now is even out the skin tones so that we have matching colors all over, and maybe go a little artistic on that. And starting off with a little contrast, curve adjustment. Let's see the whole image. just slightly. That was too much already, but we can reduce the opacity by 50% maybe. Like so, it gets a little more vivid. And beauty is now that we have that mask and we want to lighten up these parts, we can just draw a rough selection, create another curve adjustment and lighten those parts, since we have this beautiful mask around it created prior to this step. That's what I meant with playing. And we could also take down the opacity here by using a black mask, 50%, brushing over it, and we have this light adjustment here. Well, if you want to save some time, there's a nice tool by my friends of Infinite Colors, Pratik, Naik, and Stefan Kohler. They have created this Infinite Unify tool. I put a link to it in the description, and what it does, it's creating a gradient map by artificial intelligence, which is phenomenal. You can just draw a selection around the colors that you like. Let's say on the forehead, and we include some of the skin here and maybe here. And we are going to click create. And it creates this nice gradient that you can see here now. And this is activated with 100%, which is of course way too much. And just put the mask back on, so it's at 0. But what we can do now is brush it in gently with white, 50% maybe. Just for demonstration purposes, I'm gonna quickly paint it here. Be a little more mindful here at the neck and the skin. And what it does, it's unifying the skin. See, in the neck part, in the hands, on the arms, and now we have unified color, and we can take down the opacity to maybe 35 to have this more even appearance in the skin tone. All right, let's create one more quick adjustment with a curve here and lighten up the camera left arm a bit more, like so, to match it to the right arm. And we could also take away some yellow, away, other direction, this way. Yep. All right. So now what we did with all these adjustments, I can show you. We activate all those layers and we balanced out the image using maximum control with masks, and you learned how to set up those. There's one thing left to do. What I always do in the end is put a grain layer, and therefore I have created these patterns. I'll link to the video that explains how to set those up. I'm gonna go for a big grain amount, like so. Set it to soft light, and we're gonna reduce the opacity to 50%, but now we have this nice grain on top. And we would be done with this. So maybe, as I mentioned earlier, I will quickly show you how it would look like if you want to put it on another background. Let's go for something from the image. We could maybe check a color from here and reduce the amount. that would work actually pretty nicely, right? Since we know it's going to be on white, we could definitely be finished already, but let's play one more round. And maybe let's go for a yellowish color, or let's take one from here and increase, just for demonstration purposes. And I'm going to show you what we would need to do to have it blend in more naturally, since we have this white color spill here right now, and also this edge seems to be a little hard, so we can just use the smudge tool again, and same on this side. Just nudge it in a bit, same on the elbow. And you would have to go around the whole image, but you get the point. And we would have to deal with this white light. Since the background is yellowish, we create a new group, call it outline. And what we could do now is darken that skin tone. Just create a quick selection, blur it by 20 or so. It has a nice soft transition. Use some curves. And now that skin tones consist of yellow and red, we can play with the green channel and take down some green. We could also take down some blue to introduce yellow and red. Maybe red was too much. Let's take it away. So, and then we're going to take down the RGB as well. Not so much. It's a gentle move that we have to create. So let's darken it a bit. We can take this mask away and repaint it in a second, but I think we want some red in it. And now I'm gonna take it away. Take a brush with 20% and just paint over it to blend it. And this goes with everything, like with hair, with skin, with fabric. And this is probably the starting point. We could also create another gradient map or create a color layer that we are going to fill. It just needs to adjust a little to the background. We could also create a new color layer, set it to color, and take the background color with a low opacity and just brush over it gently, just to give it a little color spill from the background. Not too much. It shouldn't look fake or just irritating, but it does something that blends it in more nicely. And if you want to see the before and after of this step, you can see that it integrates well. All right. Of course, it would have to be enhanced even more, but just to show you how to do it, I think that makes the point clear. Let's take it away. Let's take the background back to white. This is how I would deliver that file. And thank you for watching. I hope you understand the benefit of a logical masking workflow. And I'm happy to hear if this is useful for you and if you can apply it to your projects. Until then, my name is Jan, signing out. Peace.